Welcome to the Don Pod, the supporters podcast. Here's your hosts, Sam and Nate.
3, 2, 1, yeah!
It wasn't exactly a dream, but the Bombers get 4 points at the G. Welcome back to a very late Don Pod. I'm joined by Nathan. Good evening to you, sir.
Good evening, Sam and people. How are we all?
It's Wednesday as of recording, so got the midweek blues, despite the fact that it's my first day back at work today. Hence the late podcast. Been living my best life in the Sunshine State. 25 degrees, beach.
No, don't.
Theme parks.
We've had some horrible frosts here. It's been as cold as anything in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. And I come back
poor
to...
kids riding off to school have struggled in the mornings. They've been very cold.
Pedal really hard to get all the ice off, and then...
But, you get the cold hands and the cold face. Remember what it was like as a kid?
Lived it, yeah.
Yep.
Not quite so frosty down here in the big city, I was going to say, even though I'm not there. But
You're not in the big city. You're
some
on the
lovely
edge of
blue
it.
skies here in the northwest today, but very windy. So far from the idyllic beaches of the Gold Coast, I assure you. Essendon 12-14-86, defeating the Tigers 10-14-74. Another game in the category of close, and we're a little bit ticked off, but I think there's more positives from this one than what we've had in the past. So I'll run through some...
Yeah.
Sorry, no,
I
you
think
go.
it's been good stepping back and looking at the game and thinking about a few things.
Goal scorers, Stringer 4, Langford 3, Hind 2, Ridley, Merritt and Owen Davey Jr. 1. Leading possession getters, Ridley and Merritt both with 31. A fantastic welcome back to the side for Jordan Ridley.
Oh, wasn't that special?
And Nicky Boy Martin, 29 disposals. So objective for this podcast is to keep it brief. I think coming after a Saturday game, it's now Wednesday. No one really cares, so we'll try and keep it... It's the nature of it.
Most people have moved on and ready now for
we're ready
the
for
Gold
Gold
Coast
Coast.
game. We could make this part preview.
We could, although it's still no teams out. But one thing I do want to mention off the top is you may notice now, particularly if you listen on Spotify, Apple, or any other medium that is not YouTube, there might be some ads popping up. I can assure you, this isn't to retire early or make a living. It's just to help us to offset some of the costs to run the podcast. So
I need to buy more old cars, Sam, just to annoy everyone in my family.
and me, you can talk about it for 3 months before you do.
That's why I do barbecues.
It's a huge milestone for us to even be able to advertise. So it's a good opportunity to say thank you for listening and tuning in. I know it's a pain when your nice free podcast gets ads, but it helps us keep it going. So appreciate it. On to the game, which it really does feel like forever ago. And it was difficult for me because the week before against North, I was annoyed. I was pissed off watching it. This one, I really wasn't.
This one, I was still frustrated watching. Definitely past it. And I want to state, I reckon, this is my observation too, that I did after time, that I thought that Richmond played as well as they've played for...
Since the Sydney game.
Yeah, since the Sydney game. They were up and about. It was. They play very well at the MCG. It's a big game. It's a big occasion. So they're Indigenous players were all about to. So I thought that even though we only won 2 goals, I think we should look at it a little bit better.
Yeah.
But at the end of the game, I was disappointed because they've just been flogged by 150 million points the week before, and I thought, why can't we do that?
I'm going to break my own rule and just jump forward to one of the social comments that I've included this week.
I love this. Yep, I love it. Rule breaker, Sam.
Barbara got in the comments and
Barbs.
she said, I'm a firm believer that a team that gets whooped by 100 points plus the week before always becomes a danger game in the following week.
Great point.
So for the Bombers to win, it's a great 4 points regardless of by how much up the Dons. I already had in my head that Dusty Martin was getting some flack last week, and I thought it's just typical in the week before they play Essendon, and I'll take you back to 2013, I think it was, maybe around that time.
Please don't.
Where Melbourne played Carlton This is when Melbourne were really bad, you have to remember. And they got a week of bad press for playing bruise-free football.
Yes, I do remember that one. I remember. Oh, yeah.
And we played them the week after.
Yep.
And lo and behold, we lost in one of the worst games of football I've ever seen. It was wet. It was low scoring. There's that iconic footage of Dean Bailey hitting the roof of the interchange bench. Dusty Martin, Richmond less so. I think Richmond as a football club were kind of excused because of the issues that they've had.
Well,
but
and what the success they've had too.
That too. But again, with the injuries, there's a very good reason here. But Dusty was copping it for not being interested, not playing well. And of course, had they have won, I think he would have been a walk-up for the Best On medal. Can't remember what it's called.
Oh, yeah.
But I wanted to include that early on just because it sums up a bit of how I feel that they showed up. More, there's still a lot on us, 100%, and we'll talk about that. But they showed up for a big game, in a game that they have a history of winning of late, and are very proud to be a part of.
Yep.
So,
no, I agree. But on the positive, and I guess we should start there too, is that the one player that rolled into our club this week after missing 10, 11 rounds, whatever we've played so far. I'm still struggling with this first round thing.
We didn't play an opening round, so just
but that's a round. So we've played 11 rounds, so is it 12 now?
It's round 11.
Yeah, well, it's 12 games. Anyway, we're not going to go into this again, people.
Yeah,
no. So he rolls into the club and looks like gold. Like, seriously, the Reds, like, how good.
Unbelievable.
He nearly had, they said at one stage, I think it was close in second or third quarter, where they said, the record for intercept marks is 12 or something like that. And I think he was on 8 or 9 at the time.
And I don't think he took another one after that because I heard that and was keeping an eye on it. 31 touches. I thought it was 41 for some reason. 31 touches at 87%.
It just made the game look good.
Yeah, 14 intercept possessions, 12 marks, 8 of those intercepts. Managed a goal, just the second goal of his career.
Best game, like, and then with that around him, like I thought Laverde played better. I thought and it made, and in the future you can see like how it's going to help Mackay if Reid comes in, Redmond and McGrath and all these guys. Just I think it all just in a moment, in a little glance of a moment, we saw our back six go. Oh, wow. We haven't seen this.
He also had 4 one-on-one contests and won every single one.
Yeah, he flogged everyone that went near him.
I had it.
He was the Dustin Martin of the back half, let's call it.
I was talking to a Richmond mate and I've been quite sympathetic towards him, so it was a friendly conversation.
Just to interrupt there, this has been the hardest part about this win, is because all my Richmond mates were going, I'll give you 20 goals. You're going to beat us by 1,000. Yeah. You're going to beat, and then we won by 2. And you can't mock them. You can't sort of go, we won, because they were like, well, just to get flogged.
Expectation's the worst thing in football. If you expect to lose, no one really cares.
Yeah, but
it's an easier place to be honest.
We've beaten them now twice in a row, and I can't.
After not beating them for 9 years or something insane. Yeah.
Hopefully next time they're playing good footy and we beat them, so then I can say ha.
Well, last year was the ha moment with Sammy Durham.
Yeah, true.
There was times, and this is not reflective of Ridley's performance at all. There was times when I was sitting there going, Jesus, like, he shouldn't have had to have that big of a game. That was sort of one concern from me. The other concern I had leading up to him coming in, so before the game, which I wish I'd vocalised on the podcast.
But you didn't. So
but I didn't.
Can't
so
claim
you
it.
just have to take my word for it. Was, they were talking about synergy and we keep mentioning this beautiful word.
Yeah, yep.
He hasn't played with them all year. And I actually thought, even though it's an upgrade on the player, I wondered how they would go as a unit. And I mean, obviously all those worries are now gone with the win.
And that was my point from earlier, is that we saw this moment in that game where we thought, wow, like, okay, I've been a bit worried about our back six, being frustrated. And there's some points I'll bring up about that later on.
Still wasn't perfect.
Yeah, what that means. But yeah, he was just awesome.
The assurity of his hands and the way he comes in and just takes the mark. And Mackay's been okay
field
at it.
kicking too. Let's talk about his field kicking.
Yes, beautiful kick.
Decision making.
I did really love the goal. It's a lovely long set shot again.
But even the decision making, like we talk about Martin, he's put to that back six to, help with that sort of decision making kicks.
He's actually driving me insane at the moment.
Oh, those low kicks are just killing me. Like, just drop it a little bit higher on the foot or something.
Stay on Ridley.
Oh. Well, he did play. Oh, hopefully he's heat map, but I thought he was a bit more forward too in this game than the last game. So that could be interesting too. Yeah, so it was. I did think about this in the last quarter. So if he hadn't played, so they just had another week in the VFL, so we just want to make sure you're totally right.
Yeah,
I don't think we would have won that game. Would that be a fair statement?
I really don't know who's playing that role. It was a lot of football. We had more inside 50s again, but 31 touches from the back half. I mean, the goal was a bonus from a 50-metre penalty. No one cares.
There was ridiculous numbers from our scoring from back half. Like the numbers were pretty much 90%.
Well, we had to because killed us.
Our centre bounce was getting flogged. Yes. We did not score, which is frustrating because this is the negative we'll get to later. Is that all of a sudden now we scored from our back half, but we could not score from our centre, which
it's hard.
Can we get it together and get both?
Well, we'll talk about that and what that could mean because it's good to have options for how to score. But I think to be
I like the way you're looking at it.
Need to do it all at once. But to be a good side consistently, you need to have a bit of everything, not just rely on one, which has been kind of how we're doing it this year. It's either we're scoring from centre clearances or we're scoring from turnover or...
Yep, as long as we're now not scoring from centre bounce because we're no good at that.
I've got these stats down for later on too, but it was Richmond's highest differential, stoppage clearance differential of the year. So they were plus 7 stoppages. That's their best of the season.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So it was their best game. Besides probably the Sydney game.
Area. Yeah. I mean, the Sydney game, they beat the team who's only lost that game. That's
and they would have had to beat them they would have had to get very close to them in the clearances because that's...
Well, that's Sydney's game.
That's Sydney's game.
Yeah. Anyway, players, give a shout out to small, little Nick Hind, who had 25 touches, kicked 2 goals and 7 score involvements. I was very impressed with him in the right spots. Again, work rate getting up and down the ground. I like to see it. I felt like he was a bit more forward than back.
Definitely, yep.
But to hit the scoreboard, 25 touches. Again, I'm not the kind of guy I want to have the ball 25 times, I'll be completely honest. But he did. He was
I know what you're saying.
Influential in the game.
Decision-making kicking sometimes can be a little bit...
his little feet go faster than his brain, for sure.
We've thought that for a long time, haven't we, about him?
But, again, numbers, good game from him, and I really enjoyed the fact he hit the scoreboard as well. The same old Zachy Merritt, 31 touches, 22 of them kicks. I thought that was a very high number of kicks for him. Beautiful kick. If I could have one man kicking inside forward 50 for all eternity, it would be him.
That is a beautiful thing.
And 7 score involvements, and I believe he did kick a goal too. Yes, he did. I think he came second in the best on voting. Ridley got perfect
the
marks.
coaches' votes or the...
No, the Euro.
I can't
remember
medal.
what it's called now. I should write that down. Ridley got perfect votes.
Post it. Yep.
So, hard to beat that, but I run out of things to say about Zach Merritt. I just... Bro's good. Move on. That's all I've got. Langford, I thought he had a good game. Equal team high 5 tackles, 4 of those inside 50, which I love to see from our big forwards. 9 marks and 3 goals. Lowered his colours last week. He kicked that 1 goal against North, and it came from a pretty arsey 4-0 forward. Good to see him get back on the scoreboard. Keeps himself in that sort of top 5 region for the Coleman, which is just nice to have a player up there. And I want to talk about my boy Caddy. I'll get your thoughts because I've spoken a lot for the last 2 months.
You're doing I was just looking up to see if I can find some information on Hines' positioning, but most of it was offensive. I was seeing, so he's like,
that's good because I said that
in the offensive side. So
horrible
that explains what you were saying. It's just that my perception down here can be ordinary.
No, it's okay. I don't like talking too much in blocks because there is 2 of us here, and
but I like it when you do the
when you
stats.
Do it, so.
Look, Caddy.
Yeah, what was your vibe? And hang on, I'll give you a proviso.
Positive.
I'll give you a proviso. He's not playing next week. Jones comes back in. I'm fully accepting of that. I think we can all
There
accept
was
that's going to happen.
some conversation about that. Who do you pick? And I said both,
Jones.
and then, but I don't know who you take out. So.
No, it's one or the other at this point in time.
Yeah.
The reason, sorry, finish your thought.
No, I thought it was a real positive. He did some things like there wasn't anything great. There wasn't anything bad. He just did some. He played football well.
What I liked.
Yep.
The set shot that hit the post was a nice kick. It was a nice action. Both of his kicks were nice actions. They just were inaccurate. And I know that sounds silly, but
pack hitting was what they've talked about was definitely there. You saw that. We saw that several times, and I like that.
If you can remember Joe Danaher's set shots that had neither the good connection or the accuracy, I will take good connection because it's something to work with.
Well, it usually results in
better kicks.
More positive results.
The ball drops better.
Yep.
Agree with what you say, hitting the packs. He got 3 free kicks, which when you go for the ball and are focused on the ball, you'll get more free kicks. He got tunnelled once. He didn't get a free kick. He got tunnelled 2 more times, which I don't know if that was anything to do with him or just the way that he was being defended.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's hard because he didn't kick a goal and he's a kid, but I think he showed plenty for the future.
I mean, first game, what was interesting actually was, I think it was the coach, Scott, they asked about his sort of, bit about him, how he got to the, getting a seniors game. And he mentioned that, we see him as a forward, but we also see him with the potential to turn into a midfielder. And I was like, what did you do then?
Oofed.
Yeah.
Well, he's 193. He's not too tall. That's not too tall.
So he's got he's got the attributes around the ground too, like when the ball hits the ground. I mean, I've only watched a little bit of him in the VFL. I haven't watched a lot, but you think these guys can spot this sort of talent? That's what they do.
I mean, Durham, they've got one on the board.
Oh, and by that, we've got the drafts on tonight.
Yes, the mid-season draft. That's all for the sort of good. Again, it feels silly to talk about. Can I throw
a couple in there?
Yes, absolutely, mate.
I wanted to mention Stringer, and he's 4.
Oh yeah, shit. Yep.
Yeah, Stringer. Yeah, there was this alley guy floating around.
Never heard of him. Who's that?
In his 200, mind you.
I think my problem with Jakey was they're all first half.
Yeah, but
that's Jake.
That's what you get with Jake.
I know, but it frustrates me.
He should have kicked 8.
Yeah. Maths, please. At least 8.
Double. That's what you do with fantasy numbers.
Double. Yeah, exactly.
Double half time. Great
logic.
captaincy score coming here. Yeah. I've really loved him this year. He's been playing a lot of midfield, especially in the last, 4 or 5 weeks. There's been a lot more CBA attendances, which I do worry a little bit about wearing him out. But with guys like Parrish and Setterfield, and I know he's fit, but I still see his weaponry. Is that the right word? Weaponry, yeah, as a forward, because like the matchups with him and Langford and either Jones or someone like that, Caddy and Peter Wright, you've got a really diverse group there of forwards, and you throw in someone like a Davey and a Hind and a what's his name there? Gresham, thanks. This is what I've been more positive about all year is our forwards, even though.
There's been improvement everywhere.
At times, I've thought they've been shit house, but I've seen that. I'm like, okay, this is a group of 6 or 7 guys I can go forward with. I can see us being competitive in games. What my concern has been the defensive 6. I'm like, oh, fucking hell, they're really getting in touch, some of those guys. With Ridley coming back in, I say, oh, wow, I want to see more of that, because now all of a sudden you see Ridley, you see Ben, as we like to call him. Sam likes to call him. And then you see, like, even Laverde played a really good game, and we've been very hard on Laverde all year.
Lav's had a good 2 weeks.
He has had a very good 2 weeks.
Against
against forwards that aren't very good forwards. So that's been really helping.
Let's not say not very good forwards. I think teams that aren't very good, i.e. the ball's not coming in as freely as it might have in other games. Can I just say, this podcast works so well because I know what you're thinking and I can fill in your blanks, i.e. Gresham. It amazes me how often that happens. And
I keep
we just know who you're talking about.
It's not a name that comes to mind.
It's great. At least you didn't say Murray.
Well, I knew to mock you about the right Mackay.
Yes, Harry.
Mm.
Shit. Damn it.
They get to play each other. Oh, can we also mention while we're talking about Harry?
Well, it's written down for later because I got another stat to accompany that.
Sorry, I'm going to look past meh.
A bit more, yes.
Shall we do meh?
Well, I want to just say on Stringer, you are quite right to bring him up. He is one of a handful. I think there's only 4 or 5 now that have kicked a goal in every game in 2024.
Oh, really?
Yes.
There you go.
And he and Langford are one of the only 2 combinations in the AFL to kick 50 goals this year.
Really?
And who's the number 1? Curnow and Mackay. Harry.
Really?
Actual fucking Harry.
The actual Harry. So you're saying that our 2 forwards are second on the dual forward list?
Well, I don't actually know who's first. All I saw was that Mackay Curnow have combined for 50 plus, as have Stringer and Langford.
Yeah.
They've combined for 50. I assume Mackay and Curnow are first.
Yeah, but
Harry might be letting the team down there. I know Curnow's kicked plenty.
Yeah, no, that's that is just.
But that's great because I'm scared of Mackay and Curnow. Like, you go into the games against them and go, oh, shit. But as you were saying about the matchups and Stringer playing forward.
Yep.
This is, I mean, Peter Wright.
He's a hard matchup, Stringer.
Yeah, Peter Wright is upsetting me at the moment.
Yeah,
and
he's upsetting all of us.
But the benefit of having a guy like that, he gets number 1 defender no matter what. It took until the 3rd quarter and Langford kicking 3 goals to have that Sam Taylor move.
Exactly. And we know that's.
And then you've got to consider Harry, who's 2 meters tall. And then you've got to look at Langford.
Yeah.
So he's either getting the 2nd or usually the 3rd best defender because he's only 193.
Mm-hmm.
But he's clearly our best forward. Consistently.
Yeah, I reckon he's our most consistent forward over the last 2 years.
Even though we were slating him last week because he was a bit shit.
He had a shocker last week. That's okay. He's allowed to have a shocker. Of course he is, but
Onto your domain. I'm going to read some stats and then you can tell me how to fix it. I've even done a fancy little table. No one can see other than me and you, but it looks pretty.
It is fancy. You've even got a little.
So under the heading meh, I've got Todd Goldstein and
meh.
Minus 26 hitouts.
Oh God, that's a lot.
This is for the team, not just Goldstein. Sorry, this is.
Well, when you look deeper at the numbers, it's all him.
It's mostly him.
Yeah, when you look at the actual hitouts, he got flogged.
Yeah, I'll move that out of the other section.
I'll find that while you're talking.
Minus 26 hitouts, which resulted in minus 10 clearances, minus 3 from centre clearance, minus 7 from stoppage clearance. And as we mentioned earlier, that is Richmond's best stoppage clearance differential of 2024.
Mm-hmm.
So the numbers, Goldie had 16 hitouts, Nankervis had 44. That is a differential of minus 28.
Yep, Peter Wright had 8.
Yeah, okay. Hitouts to advantage, Goldie had 7, Nankervis had 15. That is a differential of minus 8. And clearances, Goldie had 3, and Nankervis had a game high, not even a team high, a game high.
Yep.
8, which is then obviously differential of minus 5.
And I think that's a really important one too to look at. I think if we go back over the last few weeks, there's been a bit of an issue brewing.
Been a trend, yeah.
Been a trend with Ruckman clearing the ball out, and Goldie
Briggs had 11.
Yep.
13, something ridiculous.
Yeah, so it was. I think Briggs lost the hit out, but smashed him in clearances, which that's like having another midfielder in there at the time. And I don't think there's any way to put it. Goldie got touched on the weekend, like that. He was just absolutely touched by. And I want to say,
Xeri had 7. Clearances.
Yeah, so he would have probably beaten him in that
to 3.
domain too. Yeah, 3. So my concern is that Goldstein's 35 years old. He's been number 1 ruckman now for 3 or 4 weeks by himself, with the little chop outs from Poetry. I know he's been massively durable. Like, I don't remember him missing football at North Melbourne.
He's an incredible player over the course of 20 plus years, yes.
But in the last 4 weeks, I have seen a player that is hurting us, and I don't know if those, and I don't know this, I don't know if our clearance numbers have been affected by him not rucking well. I caught something on one of the Channel 9, I think it was, by used to play for Geelong. No, doesn't matter.
Oh, shit, after me saying that.
Yeah, come on, you meant to read me. He was saying that, like from a ex-football player, hadn't stopped playing for very long, Brownlow medalist. He was saying that the coaches should have gone to Goldstein. Bartel, thank you. The coaches should have gone to him and said, look, honestly, are you winning these hitouts? And he should have said no because he wasn't. And then that would have allowed the midfielders to set up differently because they were still setting up like he can win them.
Yeah.
So that's why we were getting hurt in the midfield. And I thought that was really interesting analysis of, things that you don't really know because I'm not an AFL player, so they're not, you don't know what conversations they're having. But it was a valid point because I think Goldie felt like he was still in it, but he was getting flogged.
He was getting really beaten.
Yeah, and I hope that I just hope that for the next 2 weeks until the bye round that they play Nick Bryant and say, look, Goldie, 3 weeks rest, get you after the bye. If we win or lose the next 2 games in the ruck or win or lose the games in overall, I don't really care. I can't see going forward how Goldie's part of it. He's not. He shouldn't be playing for us next year. I'm prove me wrong. He should. It has to be Nick Bryan and has to be Draper moving forward with Vigo becoming your replacement backup.
I'm happy with Goldstein being on the list next year. I would suggest that he needs to be third.
He turns 36 next month.
Yes, but he can be third. He can be the backup to the backup.
Why have a 37-year-old on your list?
Of course, we need someone. There's no one else on the list. Well,
go find
Vigo,
a VFL one.
12
I
years
don't
old.
know. If he's only playing VFL, he does not need to be an elite. Well,
okay, I'll follow that up then with a quick one. Just what do you think having Goldstein at the football club does for a guy like Brian? From a coaching, mentoring perspective.
Yep. That doesn't mean he leaves the club, but he could be a ruck coach.
Be a coach, yeah, fair enough. Simple answer.
Yeah, he could even just be on the VFL list next year and be a ruck coach. Mm-hmm. But Goldie, I think he's got to accept that his time has come.
Yeah. I'm not going to shelf him just yet, but I can see the frustration entirely. And we had this conversation before before we were asking these questions about having Goldie in the side, we'll say.
Yeah.
That if we were a premiership favourite or in the conversation, even that we're second on the ladder, I don't think we're in that conversation.
No, we're not. We're not literally. That's not a realistic position.
The conversation should be who plays, which ruckman plays that is the better option for the future of the football club.
Yep.
That is Nick Bryan. It would be Draper, but he's injured, so we'll forget him for the sake of the conversation.
Exactly.
So you've now got 3 games where Goldie has been poor.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of turned it around in the second half against GWS, but it was still overall either a draw or beaten.
Yep.
Poor against the worst team in the comp in North Melbourne. Poor against the current second worst team in the comp in Richmond. It's just time. And once again, Nick Bryan is out there in the VFL just
40 hit outs, kicked a goal, 20 possessions.
There's a Nick Bryan shaped fist hole in the door. He's banging it down that hard. Again, if we were in a position to be talking premierships, we'd have to play who we think is the best ruckman, which may well be Goldstein to the coaches.
Yep.
But at this point in time, it is not.
And my only concern about this is that I hope that Brad Scott is not we'll talk about this in maybe the next player with the meh or the concerns, is that I hope Brad Scott's not the sort of guy who just keeps picking players because he wants them in the team. I hope that he has a genuine...
Gotta be. Yeah.
Well, genuine sort of, no, you're the best player, you're coming in. No, you're a bit of my favourite. You can stay in for a few more weeks, which if I could jump over to Jake Kelly's role change in the last week, then I would, he played a forward/wingman on the weekend because Ridley came in. And so he was shoved up to the forward. And look, we've talked about this until we're blue in the face. That Jake Kelly is a small defender. Great. Love him. Have no problem with him. Really good. Locks down players. Awesome. But any other fucking role on the field, put a bullet in him. Not worth it.
Yeah.
Find another kid.
I wholeheartedly agree. He's a small defender. He has been doing that role superbly well for the last month and a bit. Let's keep him there. I did think he was playing a little bit on Bolton at times.
Oh.
But I only mention that because I wonder if he was just following him up the ground, whether that was more so that was the option rather than saying, righto, Cal, you're playing on the wing.
But that's not how we've ever played it before. We've often let players go up the ground and let the defenders stay back.
I'm just throwing something in there. I remember seeing...
We'll have to wait for 2 weeks of data. If Ridley plays again this week,
that's right,
and he plays in a different role, then we'll just assume that he can't go out of the team. Like that, and that that drives me insane because I'm like, well, what about the kids in the VFL? Like we talk about Hayes and we talk about these other guys. They're soldiering along, playing great footy. Do they? I'd love to know what their attitude is deep down to this. Well, I can't get a game behind Kelly because he just stays in the team.
I'd hope as second and third year players, they would know their time will come.
Yeah,
I will give the coaches that defense of maybe he was just following flog guts. Shea Bolton. I'd love Shea Bolton. He's a good bloke, good player. I'd have him in a heartbeat.
Yep.
Right, some stats. This is going to be a half an hour pod. We've just hit half an hour, so
all right, let's wrap it up. All right, thank you, everyone.
You do that joke every time.
It's because I'm a dad.
There you are. We were plus 46 disposals, plus 34 kicks, plus 12 handballs. We won the contested ball just plus 2. Plus 13 inside 50s. Again, another pretty comfortable stat. Again, not transferring necessarily. Plus 25 marks. However, they took one more mark inside 50 than what we did. Yeah. And probably the most pleasing number for me here is plus 9 tackles inside 50, led by Langford.
Yep. There's some good
that
numbers
is
there.
Crucial. And I mean, we weren't getting the centre clearances, so it wasn't going in just to bang back out again. It was coming in maybe a little bit slower and a bit more congested than what it could out of centre clearances. Yep. But I like that stat being a positive.
Yeah, no, there's some good numbers there. I mean, again, we'll go back to the point. I thought we played well. I would have loved to have beaten them by more, but I do accept that I think they played very well too. And if you look at the players we've got out too, like is the other.
Well, we've got a fair few.
We've got a couple. I know their list is very impressive too, and you know they're probably reaching deeper into their reserves of players. But we've got some decent players out of that. Interesting too. Did you say Shield was out sick? I wonder if a sickness went through the club during the week.
There was a bit of talk about that last week.
Perkins' game was disgusting. Like he was,
and Cox was out with the illness
the week before.
Yeah.
So I wonder if
I wish they would say
bug,
that if there
do
was.
We say that? Can you say bug?
Well, bug, COVID.
Yeah, bug. That's what Mum would say. Oh, it's got a bug.
I'm sure if it was COVID, we would know. I would like to be told that sort of thing from the club because otherwise it just sounds like excuses.
Well, yeah, like Perkins' game was very off it.
Yeah,
like,
I've got a social comment for that too. If you want me to throw that in there now. Well, Regan, Perkins could have played naked last night and I still wouldn't have noticed him.
That's a
like that. Yeah.
If we had one for call of the week, Regan, you're right there, buddy.
Yeah. If we keep playing the ads, we might actually have a prize for the best comment of the week.
That's a ripper.
I might have noticed him. He's a pretty good looking dude. Where'd you go? You just disappeared. But yeah, good one. Look, a few quick topics of conversation, not a lot. I want to just slap Guelphy for not taking the 30 seconds very late on and giving Richmond
and he had a very good game to win too.
He had a perfectly fine game. It is those little things that against a good team could well have cost us the game.
Exactly. Yep. Like that's
you took the mark 45 out. Yep. The umpire was never going to call you to play on. You were allowed to have a shot. Just take the feckin' shot. 30 seconds. You can kick that far too. That's the other big thing.
But it's the 30 seconds.
Yeah. The time's critical, but it's not.
And I think at that time was at 12 points. Yeah. So if he kicks the point.
Yeah, handy point. Yeah.
Yeah, the point gives us the point's a goal. Like a score gives us the victory. Well, we already had it, but I agree with you 100% there. That moment it got me a little frustrated because it went up the other end and they should have.
They went straight inside 50. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
probably all the Essendon players were a bit, oh, good, we've taken a mark.
We can relax, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing part of that too, is give your defenders 30 seconds to just have a breather. Exactly. Ridley's got leather poisoning down there. Just let him have a bloody break.
Yep.
Stop putting your head down because you keep disappearing. Zoom doesn't like your background and your hat.
Sorry.
We want to see your beautiful face.
Oh,
now,
it's a money maker.
Not going too hard on the Ben Mackay numbers this week because he's level. At Essendon, he's 8 wins, 1 draw, 2 losses. At North Melbourne, he's 8 wins, 1 draw, and 62. He could lose the next 60 games. And he would have the same record as what he had at North Melbourne. That is the better part of 3 seasons of football. He could not win a single game.
Oh, they don't look like winning one at the moment either. God, they look.
And
just to change the subject, I did read an article in the AFL page today about how bad North Melbourne and St Kilda are going. I was like,
Yeah. Oh, the Saints is interesting because we did not want Ross Lyon.
No, and he's just ordinary.
Actually, I think I might have made a case for him, but I'm glad we didn't get him.
What was the comment?
Vibe was shit.
The vibe.
The vibe, Ross. How's it
The
going,
vibe,
champion?
how's the vibe going?
Yeah, flog. And another stat that surfaced this week is that since North Melbourne sacked Brad Scott, his last game in charge was round 10, 2019. Since that point, North Melbourne are 19 wins, 1 draw, and 87 losses. Brad Scott's coaching record is 19 wins, 1 draw, and 14 losses. So the same number of wins. Again, we could lose the next 73 games of football, and the record would be the same.
Can you explain to me why North Melbourne people get stuck into us when we lose a game?
Because they haven't got anything else.
Yeah, I know. I know there's rivalry between teams, but if I was a North Melbourne supporter, I would just shut up. Like,
can I suggest something to you?
Nothing good is going on there at the moment. Well,
I haven't put a lot of thought into this. It popped into my head today, and I went, it doesn't work with the nature of reserves playing in the VFL.
Okay.
But in the case of North Melbourne, would a relegation promotion system help? Would that help North Melbourne?
Would you relegate them to the VFL?
So I don't know how it works because they've got a reserve side in the VFL. I don't know how that would work, but put them into a lower level of football. Get the draftee kids in playing against younger or lesser skilled opposition. Get the chance to play good football, win games of football, earn their way back up then into the AFL.
Would you? I like what you're saying. Can I throw something in there? Would you do this when Tassie come in so you've got even teams? Like the bottom team drops out and is relegated to the VFL?
I haven't thought about that to that level. I just think put North, and if I take away the fact it's North Melbourne, because I really don't like them, it's so, like, imagine their fans and they will lose supporters for life. They're people that won't come back.
If we relegate them, or
no, just now.
Currently, yeah.
They're 11 losses in a row to start. Like, it's human nature at that point. It's got nothing to do with your loyalty or anything like that.
It would be a very hard watch.
It's very hard.
It'd be a very hard watch for them.
At least if you were going to watch your team play against Williamstown, just as an example, again, I haven't put a lot of thought into this. You might just see your team win. I don't know. But then the other side to that is if your team wasn't playing in the AFL, if I go watch Essendon VFL play, I want to see us play well, but I don't really care about the result. So does it lose that?
I think there was some in the article about, I don't know why we're doing this, but I'll quickly jump in. In the article about North Melbourne, they talked about how a few coaches that have been there in the time have been worse than Clarko's record and have been sacked. But because it's Clarko.
Do you mean Clarko's worse than their record?
And the interesting one too was a coach that was at St Kilda was sacked for Lyon in the famous. He was given an extended contract and then 100 days later was sacked. And then he also coached at North Melbourne when
when Clarkson was out. Yeah,
Clarkson was out. Same coach. Yeah, Ratton. And they talked about how his record before both those clubs was better than, his record was better than Lyon.
Oh, Lyon, sorry. Yep.
Yeah. So he was better than Lyon. Then now Lyon's still there, rubbish. And he wasn't at North Melbourne, but it's fascinating. Like, if it had been any other coach, if they'd employed a coach with no name and this was their record right now, they'd be sacking all over. But because it's Clarko, he's a bit more protected and he'll last another year or two.
It happened with, I reckon, Brendan Bolton at Carlton too. I don't reckon his record was horrible, but got the arse. And then Voss, the middle of last year, Voss could have very easily been out the door.
Yeah, well, there was the one at North Melbourne. I can't think of his name. He was he wasn't a big name coach, but he only lasted a year and a half with only 3 or 4 wins and was out the door. And Clarkson's not doing much better. So sliding doors moment. I think we'll go back to hopefully in the future and look at this where they both went different ways and didn't pick us, and Scott went to us. So I do hope that
at the moment that looks
at the moment, and I'm saying that I hope in the future we go back and look at that as a bit of a sliding doors moment where we made a good choice. I don't know if we'll win a premiership out of it, but maybe we're a really good team, maybe make grand finals at least or something like that. And they hopefully won't.
Yeah. Anyway, let us know. I mean, it's not something I think's right or wrong. It was just a thought I had that, footy's in the head, confidence, all that sort of stuff. I don't see it ever happening either. For what it's worth, I'm not suggesting it actually happens. It's just
no, I don't think it would happen. But it'd be one of those things they put on like Channel 9, but they're stupid bloody.
Talk about it, and yeah. It's also the time of year when there's playoff finals in England that get 90,000 people into Wembley, and it's a pretty cool thing to watch.
Well, it would make those last few games of the year really interesting.
It gives you something to play for, doesn't it? You can't tank.
Like relegation, yeah.
It actually...
and if you look at, saying North Melbourne sort of didn't tank, well, a few years ago, I missed out on Harley Reid. That's been punishment enough, maybe.
Yeah, but then the other side to that is in that situation, Harley Reid would be playing VFL this year.
Harley Reid wouldn't like that, I don't think.
No, so yeah. Anyway, it's complicated. Yep. One last stat, and then we'll get into some votes, and then wrap the fuck up. First time since 2000 that we've gone 7 games unbeaten. We did it twice in 2013. We did 6 games winning streak in 2013. We won 6 in a row in 2004, 6 in a row in 2003. We won 6 in a row twice in 2001, and then obviously we won 20 in a row in 2000. Yep. And I have to credit Jonathan from Don the Stat there for that one. That was off
pretty cool.
The Twitter. Obviously a bit different with the draw, but 7 games unbeaten is 7 games unbeaten. So what I'm trying to say is we're definitely going to win the flag.
Well, I'm fascinated by the next few weeks. Like I really am, and we'll talk about that after our votes. But
Gold Coast are favourites. That's my
Gold
first.
Coast and haven't lost.
No one believes in us.
I feel confident in saying they haven't lost up at home. Yep,
I reckon they lost one. They might have lost to Geelong up there or something.
No, they beat Geelong.
because they beat Geelong.
Yep. I'm pretty confident in saying that.
I reckon they've won one. Anyway, do you want to do your votes? Excuse me.
Of course I will. Well, I think 1. Well, we'll start at 1 because 3 is too obvious. 1, Stringer. I loved his game. 200, 4 goals. All for that. 2, Merritt. Loved his game. 24 million possessions, all beautifully used. And the Rids,
the Riddler,
have his children. I hope he has a beautiful wife that they're having boys already.
Yeah. GWS beat Gold Coast at home, and we beat GWS, so therefore,
really
easy done. Oh, that was in Adelaide. Sorry, no, that was Gather Round.
I'm still in.
I was just looking at the home team. My apologies. You are right.
Yeah. It'd be nice if you had a little confidence in me, people. Just a little confidence.
I don't. Yeah, you have a track record. The listener, AJ Johnston, I'm quite relieved that you've got a name I can pronounce this week. It does make me nervous that I get these names wrong. So thanks for that, AJ. Probably still fucked it up, but anyway. He gave 1 to Stringer, 2 to Merritt, 3 to Ridley, same as you.
Oh, AJ knows what he's doing.
You and AJ separated at birth.
Yep. Where did you go?
Now, I've given 1 to Merritt.
I don't know that player at number 2.
No, I've hidden it from you so you can't see it this week because you always spoil it for the listeners. And I like to get your naked reaction.
Okay.
It's not that big a deal, and I've built it up too much now. I gave 2 votes to Nicholas Hind.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. But he played well.
Damn it. You flat out abused me when I gave Guelphy votes against Hawthorn.
I think there were better players in that game, but that's fair enough.
I've given 3 votes to Ridley because
everyone
not to.
He will poll on Brownlow night that night.
Yeah.
I see there was another stat about Martin too, where they said he's polled 3 million votes against Essendon. He polls nearly every game.
Oh, Dusty, yeah. I saw a rumour today that Dusty's retiring after his 300th.
Oh, here he's going to another club. Is he just going to go up the Gold Coast, Sydney? Surely that'd be his plan, wouldn't it?
I would, after spending my weekend up there.
But I could see him up there cruising around and being a bit undercover. And
there's a lot of money in that place. Every second car was
He'd open a pub and people would go.
Yeah, I'd go. Yeah, him and Dane Swan. Onto some socials. I've actually done 2 of the comments already. Barbara and Regan, thank you. And then one more from Dave. Dave, right?
Peter's brother.
Yeah, Pete's brother. Love does his hip and shoulder on Vlosten, and then Guelphy's Shepherd for Merritt, which was against Ralph Smith.
Can we talk about that Shepherd? There's not enough Shepherds in bloody football anymore.
What I liked about the bump, and he does say this. Need more of that tough but fair. And I think that's the critical thing. Bump's dead. You can hit him. You just got to hit him in the shoulder, not the head. And that's what...
But even like just in the old-fashioned arms out, stop them. Don't have to knock them on their ass. Shepherd. Like where if you give the ball to someone, you stop the guy behind. Whereas what I see a lot of players is they want to get it back again. They're like running around a little sheepdog and coming back for another handball.
Whereas There's merit in doing that, if you pardon the pun, because you either shepherd or you draw the player away and then you still get space. But yeah, the shepherd does not get utilised anywhere near enough these days, and I really appreciate it when it does for that very reason. Very quickly, next week, Gold Coast, Sunday at 4 p.m. I was on the Gold Coast on the wrong week, unfortunately.
Yeah, think that through.
The Snuz are favourites, which I think speaks volumes for where we are still rated at this point in time, despite spending 3 weeks second on the ladder now.
I'm actually a bit confident, which is going to hurt against this one.
We play to the level of our opposition. That's what I will say.
Yep.
And Gold Coast are better than North Melbourne and Richmond, so therefore we'll play better.
Look, a part of I'm hoping is that I hope Goldstein's rested or managed, whatever polite word they want to use.
If I can just jump in there, Brian, 46 hit-outs, 23 touches a goal, and 133 fantasy again.
I'll bring him in for that, yep.
Yeah. Vigo, as a backup, had 21 hit-outs and 11 touches.
Jeez, who the hell do they have as a ruckman? That's 67 hit-outs. 67 hit-outs between two blokes. That's...
Yeah, and they still won by 10 goals, Richmond.
Bananas.
Lewis Hayes, 11 touches and 5 marks. Quite input from him, and I've actually got no defence because Ridley played AFL this week. Jaden Davey, 9 touches and a point. And Jai Menzies, 9 touches and 2 goals. Honestly, not a lot to write home about there. We got flogged, but the one that is consistently banging that door down...
He's our boy.
Nick Bryan. And to quote you, if he doesn't play this week, I'm going to write a letter. I'm going to get my quill and my ink, my parchment paper.
Mocking butts.
It could be really old school or just Harry Potter at this point.
The other one I've heard, which might be a go this week, is Setterfield.
Yes, actually, given that that's one of the bonuses of doing this on
the injuries are named. There's a lot of 3 to 4 weeks. I see Hobbs now 3 to 4 weeks. That turned into a mild calf to a serious calf.
Parrish was like awareness.
Yep.
Tight, and then it was a 4 week.
The calf has popped out and walked away.
So if I do the full...
I think they give us a little bit of the bull dust in the...
Kane Bulman's 3 to 4 weeks. Draper's 4 to 5 weeks. Dersman's 3 to 4 weeks.
Even stop there. Draper's 4 to 5 weeks. Draper was 4 to 5 weeks ago. 4 weeks ago when it happened.
Ben Hobbs 2 to 3 weeks. Darcy Parish 3 to 4, and Setterfield, cricket captain, is a test.
So it'd be good to see him at least in the VFL this week.
I think Cox has been cleared to play.
Yeah, but surely they won't play him.
Well, he's not listed on the injury list, so I don't know. Given it's a Sunday, it's the 8-day break as well. Probably helps.
My only concern there is he played no game the week before. He played a small part in this week.
Yeah.
I'm still doubtful in their whole. No, there's no injury. There is.
Well, yeah, he'll probably be out for 6 weeks. Yeah,
because they lie to us. That's what they do. So I'd be surprised. Him and I'd like to see if we were talking change. I'd like to see him and Goldie out
for Brian and
Jones. I would go the extra tall. That'd be my, because then for my theory on that is that right when he goes into the ruck, we still have Jones and Caddy down there. So that's my only theory. I wouldn't do that all week, every week, but I would try and stretch the Golding Coasts.
The Golding Coast, yes. Yep. I don't agree. I will say Brian for Goldstein. That's perfectly fine. And I'm going to play it safe and just say my boy, Caddy out. For Harry. Yeah.
What about Cox? You think he'll play?
He'll play. I think he'll play. Yep. They took a cautious approach with him on the night. 8-day break, cleared of strain. If not, I don't really know who comes back in. Maybe it is Setterfield if that's the swap. But
well, if Setterfield was fit, I'm happy to have him come in. And
I don't know who you're dropping for Setterfield at this point. I think he needs to come in.
It would be Setterfield for
unless it's Caddy,
Cox.
And then you can play.
Well, it's Setterfield for Cox.
But if Cox is fit, I'm saying.
Oh, if Cox is fit, then Setterfield. Probably, good question.
You could almost do Caddy, play stringer perma forward, and then Setterfield's your midfielder.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to bring Setterfield back and play a full game though. Anyway.
Yeah, we'll see.
I would like probably see Setterfield play VFL because I thought that worked well for Ridley. And I'm a bit of a fan that I think we should do that more often.
Yep.
Because I still think that wins and losses, we'll talk about this, but wins and losses are not the key at the moment. It's just about how we play and how we keep improving.
I'd love to know at what point we'll actually believe that this team's any good. We've been second on the ladder for 3 weeks and we're still sitting here not believing anything.
I've done the live ladder thing and have us falling out.
I had us finishing top when I did that. Yeah, that's weird.
Had us falling out. No, we'll lose that game. We'll lose that game.
We do have well, apparently we have one of the easier draws to finish the year, which I'm not quite sure
I don't know how they work that out because we're playing at home a lot or we're playing in Victoria.
We have to play Collingwood, Carlton,
Sydney, Brisbane, Adelaide. Adelaide's at home, so that's good.
So
Gold Coast we play again.
Yes.
We play West Coast after by Geelong.
Yeah, yeah. And people seem to forget, like, the ladder is based... The draw is based on last year's ladder. We finished in the middle 6 of teams.
Yep.
Middle 6 teams. Therefore, we get the middle difficulty. We have beaten St Kilda. We've beaten the Bulldogs. We've beaten GWS. And just because the Bulldogs and St Kilda aren't in the 8 now doesn't mean...
We're always, though, the part of that, though, is always because we play Collingwood twice, so they're the best team in the competition at the moment, so that's hard.
Yeah.
Richmond, we played once, don't we?
Once, yep.
Carlton twice or once?
Carlton's once this year, but there's a rotation, or there used to be a rotation between those clubs.
So it all depends on where those big Victorian clubs are too.
But we always get Collingwood twice. That's
because say if Hawthorn were good, like we play in them first round most years now, that's a tough first up game.
Yeah. Anyway, I again, we'll just keep getting these tests after test after test, and I still have that big one eyeballed in Carlton in a fortnight's time.
Yeah.
But Gold Coast.
Gold Coast is a great
pick because they've been a little bit up and down, but as you very rightly apparently pointed out, they haven't lost at home, including Darwin.
Thank you. Thank you, Sam. Thank you for respecting my knowledge.
Respect's a strong word, but
I'd like to point out that I think they've been flogged a couple of times away from home. Like,
they're not very good away, but
when they went and played the Bulldogs in Ballarat, they got touched.
The last time we played a team coached by Damien Hardwick, he quit after it, so he might have some war wounds there. Don't know. Biggest bunch of spuds, he called us.
What? Did he?
After that, yeah. Cotcham was talking about it recently that he doesn't think he actually meant that. He was just frustrated because he felt like he was cooked, essentially. But yeah, he called us the biggest bunch of spuds and they lost to us.
Oh, there you go.
Could be a bit of bad blood there, Dimmer. In any case, we have gone well longer.
We really have no concept of time.
We don't. We're not going to do around the grounds this week because no one cares. It's Wednesday. I'd argue no one cares on a Monday, but we like talking about it. So
we like talking footy.
We do. Yeah.
Talking footy.
Next week should be more of a normal time, I would suggest.
We got Sunday, only Sunday game, don't we?
So we can probably do it after.
Night, yep.
Yeah. No one's going off to enjoy themselves next week or anything. So
no, I'll be very unenjoyable.
Yeah. Queensland, so nice.
But the problem with Queensland is Queenslanders. And my sister...
there's not a lot of Queenslanders on the Gold Coast, though. Not in surfers.
No, my sister lives on the Gold Coast.
Not in surfers, I imagine.
Fair enough.
And some crazy drivers. Yeah. I got honked in one intersection for staying in my lane. They came over to me and then had the audacity to honk me as though I was the problem.
Yeah, but you're a country boy. You were probably lost.
I was, but I was in my lane. I was where I was meant to be. Anyway.
All right, let's wrap this up.
Yeah, let's do it. Thanks for tuning in again. We really
do we want to do a tip?
Yeah, Don's by 17.
Oh, I'll go. What?
Go. Sorry, finish your do your tip.
I'll go us by, I reckon 3 goals.
3 goals, all right. You finally got your Dons by 12. I should have.
I can't do it anymore.
You said us by 60, so you fucked that up, didn't you?
Yeah, I should have went with 12.
You should have stuck with it. You shouldn't let me guilt you out of that one.
Yeah, true. Oh, we're going to go by 3 goals this week.
All right, no worries. All right, thanks for tuning in. As we said earlier, really appreciate you all here. You've got us to a point where we can advertise on our podcast, and it's just amazing. So thank you so much, and go Dons.
Go Bombers!